Hi everybody, I hope you're well. Today I will read from a book titled Guía, practica de arquitectura, Buenos Aires 1925-2025 by Ricardo Fernández Rojas, published by Universidad Torcuato Di Tella. A century ago, Jorge Luis Borges published his first book, Fervor of Buenos Aires, a small collection of poems in which he captured the passion he felt upon returning to his native city, a sort of rediscovery and return to that avant-garde urban criollismo that manifests itself in the streets, ambience and evocative memories of those daily small pleasures experienced in the hustle and bustle of an incipient metropolis. We participate in the experience of architecture as a form of knowledge. One way to recreate and reappreciate a city or cities is through buildings, not only the most representative and emblematic, but also that other vast amount of built work that confers a public and civic sense to a city that, like Buenos Aires, was developed under the moderating influence of a sober architecture, non-strident, at times anonymous and somewhat impersonal. The underlying question is how to conceive of an educational model or of the production of the architecture itself, if not in the framework of a temporal and geographical context that provides our work with a sense of belonging and historical awareness? How do we join the debates and form part of the discussion that precedes us, if not by aligning recent architectural production with the documents of works that have been developed historically? Buenos Aires was our first fervor, our open-air laboratory where we practiced our profession and had our first experiences, a space of social and cultural exchange, of urban transformations and productive development, the stage where myths gave way to the real city with its buildings and the modest relevance of its urban episodes. Buenos Aires, in other words, as a historical territorial unit characterized by a relevant number of examples that explain two aspects that appear critical and antithetical: urban identity and building singularity. This publication allows us to renew our profound interest in the city and its architecture, presenting a good number of works, chronologically ordered, that reflect the state of affairs in terms of development and the architectural evolution of Buenos Aires over the past 100 years. The material presented here, in the format of a guide, aims to reconstruct this period in time of our architecture, from 1925 to 2025, in order to make buildings and their historical processes visibly recognizable. This extensive repertoire of projects allows us to trace an imaginary line that connects precedents with present and future expectations, at times diluted by rhetorical and literary figures. The format, which differs in size and content from a traditional guide, allows us to reimagine a genre that has been undervalued by the publishing market, positioning it as a powerful tool for synthesis and conciseness, similar to a micro-story or a short story in literature, capable of amalgamating images, content and information in a short tour of 1 or 2 pages. Despite its narrative economy, the guide contributes to the reconstruction of history, updating content, isolating variables. It goes without saying that each case is a project in and of itself, combining the specific with the general in order to obtain, in the end, a choir-like and hopefully comprehensive view of the architecture it covers. The guide is, above all else, a guide of architecture and not of architects. Our interest is in the work, not in praising its authors, although it is only in light of its creators that the work acquires significance as an educational resource. The works highlighted in the guide were chosen through a rigorous selection process. The initial requirements was publication. The work had to have appeared in a publication that conferred it public legitimacy, independent of our personal selection criteria. This facilitated inclusion as well as kept our own subjectivity at a reasonable distance. The second requirement is that the work had to incite academic or professional interest, be it an intrinsic quality of the project, its ability to reflect a certain context, or the mere didactic effect of recognizing in some instance of the development process architectural attributes worth noting. Underlying this requirement is the notion of material, of learning from the work and from others as a support for creative activity. Some buildings are possibly missing, but those that deserve to be included are featured. The selection in this respect is broad, generic, and inclusive. A thorough demonstration of Buenos Aires as a city that is cosmopolitan, full of contrast and diversity, but with recognizable traits of its own identity. Ask for the book at your local bookstore. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.